who said, "Why are these games so much better than anything Nintendo has ever put out?" And I will say that is bait. I will answer it. We're going to talk about some PM, some P+. Fielded a bunch of questions. I swear I've seen PM Ike side B into a wall and wall jump off. Please tell me that I'm either crazy or you can actually do that. You are not crazy. Ike can 100% side B and then wall jump. In fact, it's a core gameplay tenet of that character is lots of side B stuff because you can jump out of side B, you can wall jump out of side B. It also impacts stage lists. Ike does very well on walled stages. I will ban stages that have walls so that I can cripple his recovery a little bit. Not only is it a thing Ike can do, but it is integral to their kit and integral to their gameplay. When should Samus switch between Ice and Fire mode? She's my favorite character in Melee, so I never really use Ice mode. Ice and Fire mode it's contentious. Fire mode is by far more common. There's a lot of Samus players who never switch. And nobody only uses Ice that I've seen. It would be really cool if there's somebody out there who only played Ice mode. The general thought process is if you have time and you're struggling to kill someone, switch to Ice. Fire is better at racking up damage, Ice is better at killing. It's supposed to be the like Chic Zelda kind of thing. There are ways to make switching a little bit easier. You can edge cancel your taunt, and edge canceling your taunt will still get you the switch in Fire to Ice mode, or Ice to Fire mode, having to do the long animation. But yeah, that's the idea, is that Fire you would be able to rack up damage, Ice you can kill a little bit better. Neither one is like super crazy in either direction. Ice just has some like big kill hitboxes. Who is the most broken character in Project Plus? This is from Throne Orc or Torque. Most broken character in Project Plus currently, right now, is argued. I think it is theoretically, I think it's Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo's the best character. I think Mewtwo may have been the best character in the last patch. At minimum was top 3 in the last patch. I think Mewtwo was already for sure top 3, top 5, and then did not get nerfed nearly like any other character did. So yeah, I think it's for sure Mewtwo. On a theoretical level, I think Mewtwo is very hard to play at that level though, and requires a lot of character specific tech. So a lot of people aren't able to just pick up Mewtwo and do it. I see Fuzz Mewtwo versus almost anyone else. Fuzz thinks his Mewtwo sucks. I think he's kind of joking, but like Fuzz is top 10 and thinks that he does not do all the Mewtwo things. He thinks that Mewtwo could be pushed so much further, and that's part of the reason I think that Mewtwo is theoretically top. Because if the best Mewtwo and a top 10 player also thinks that they're not doing all of the Mewtwo things, that scares me. I think you're also looking at Wolf, who is still insanely good, can blow people up, has a good survivability, even without Shine Glide, still lives a very long time, has an insane combo game. But yeah, Wolf, and then Meta Knight. Meta Knight's still just very good. It's hard to make a Meta Knight archetype bad. Meta Knight is very fast. If you combined a fast faller, Puff, and Marth into one character, congratulations, you made Meta Knight. You can fly, you have a sword, and you're fast. Oh my god. Oh my god. Let me look up one thing. I want to see if I agree with it. I'm going to look up the tier list that Junebug and friends posted. Oh, they had ZSS up there. I think ZSS is freaking phenomenal. I don't know if she's on the level of those 3. I think ZSS is a step above all the other characters though. So they have Mewtwo, Meta Knight, ZSS, and then Wolf. And then they have Wario, Falcon, DK, Sonic. Yeah. They have the first 4 in S tier, the second 4 in A+ tier. I feel like ZSS is a step above Wario, Falcon, DK, and Sonic, but a step below the other ones, and it just doesn't make sense to put her in a tier of her own. If you're looking for purely the most busted characters, yeah, you know what, play all 4 of those. Mewtwo, Meta Knight, ZSS, Wolf. I just think ZSS isn't quite the same level as the other 3, but they're very, very, very good. Very good. Do you think DDD is viable? Probably the most fun character for me in P+, with Pit being a close second. Pit is very good right now. Pit is, for me, mid-tier. Not very good, but like good. DDD is bad. I will just say straight up bad. I don't know if they're the worst character in the game like some people say, but they're bad. Probably a bottom For sure bottom 10. I know in this tier list they have them as bottom 1. My hot take for PM and P+ is that every character is viable. If you notice for the Junebug, Sosa, Thunders, Malachi tier list, the lowest tier is B-. If you compare it to Melee, the worst character in P+ is still as good as like Melee Ganon, or better. Maybe even the worst character in P+ is as good as like Doc or Samus. There's nobody that is not worth playing in P+. You'll have a harder time. The lower characters aren't that they're awful, it's that they have a lot more volatile matchups. I'm looking at every character though, and it's not, there used to be some PM patches where characters were straight up not good. Patches where some character was just like not really worth playing, because even if they were fine, there was a different character who played their game plan better than they could. And I don't think that's true anymore. Yeah, I think every character in P+ has a reason to exist, and that is the best thing I can say about it, is that every character in P+ is viable. Some will have a much harder time winning a national, I will agree. But they're all good, they're all decent, they're all viable. You will win sets, you can win locals. This tier list has Ganon as the 7th worst character in the game. Ganon won a local yesterday. I've been at tournaments where DDD has won the entire thing. Basic Ice Climbers game plan, what's their bread and butter, character-specific tech, best and worst matchups, and why. I'm not going to go over into everything because that'll take too long. Basics IC's game plan, force your character into very bad situations by strategically taking up their space. And so that's things like having one blizzard and then up airing with the other one. So now the person can't go in front of you or above you. Where are they supposed to go? You are trying to use ice blocks, blizzards. You have pretty good aerials, even if you have very slow air movement, but your forward air is good, your up air is really good, your back air is really good. Trying to scare the person into making a bad decision, like holding shield too long. A bad roll on a platform. Just put people into really difficult situations. And then you also have your crazy grab game, obviously. Your neutral is to utilize the fact that you have two different mediocre characters, but you're controlling them at the same time and getting them into spots where like, okay, you can't go above me or in front of me now, and hopefully I've put you into a bad spot, or you can't go behind me, but you also can't do this. Really trying to mess people up right there. That's the really basic game plan. Bread and butter, work on your handoffs. That's the down throw, forward throw, regrab loops. Work on your handoffs, work on your chain grabs, know a couple mix-ups for each of your chain grabs. So like down throw, down air is not true, but depending on where you throw Nana to do the down air, if you do it right in place or if you put her over, the person will pop into different spots. There's counterplay for all of it. Character-specific tech, just work on all of your desyncs. Work on all of the desyncs. Make sure you can do them all on command, on cue. The really basic ones are dash dance desync, spot dodge desync, and roll desync. Some really fun character-specific stuff is desync ledge options. You can up B and then desync off of that because they grab ledge at 2 different times. Why is it that in Melee, Puff is regarded as a top 3 or 4 character, but in PM or P+, Puff is regularly a bottom 10? What's the difference? And again, looking at the tier list that Junebug and friends put out, they have Puff as the 2nd worst character in the game. Interesting thing about that is that Puff is not changed from Melee. In fact, Puff is strictly better than in Melee, because Puff can Bacchus now, and that's another option that Puff has. In 3.6, Puff was 1-to-1 with Melee, except also having a Bacchus. The problem with Puff, despite being the exact same character, is that Puff in Melee is very good because of who the top tiers are. And how bad the low and mid tiers are in Melee. Puff in Melee does really well because Puff can Wall of Death people, back airs off stage. Puff has very consistent rest setups on a lot of the cast, especially against fast fallers. Way more characters in PM and P+ can fly. They can just fly, and so good luck, like, oh, I hit them with 4 back airs off stage. Oh, they're still back somehow. They have 3 jumps and they can fly. Okay, yeah, edge guarding just works very different. And a lot of characters, because of the way Puff does things, they can just drop down and go underneath and go back up, or like, you have to win neutral more with Puff. You're not gonna get that like you can get the one read to kill them, but it's harder. And it requires an even stronger read, basically. So Wall of Pain is not as good. Rest setups are less consistent because there's way more weights and fall speeds, and like there's a lot more weights and fall speeds that are viable in PM and P+. And so you can't just be like, oh, this is my fast faller kill option. All right, that works against the fast faller still. There's also more characters with super moves like Waft or DK Punch or things like that, and those will kill Puff so early. And a lot of characters have consistent ways to set up into those. Like, Puff is the exact same character, but it's the way the meta works that Puff is worse. I also don't think Puff is as bad as everybody says. Even if she is still like bottom 5, I don't think that's awful in PM. I just think you have to put in a lot more work with Puff. Apparently they've tried a couple different things to make Puff better and more viable in P+, and it immediately went from Puff is bottom 5 to like, oh, Puff's the best character in the game now. And so it's hard to make that character better without making her very toxic. Most compelling storylines going into 2021. I think it will be the current growth of PM. I don't see the storylines as far as like, I don't think we're going to have a crazy shift of who the top players are. I think our top players are going to be the same, except for a couple people that have dropped off because they've retired. We're not going to see a big shakeup in the meta of who is a good player. I do think certain characters we're going to see more. I think we're going to start to see a lot more ZSS, assuming more people pick her up. But I think the biggest storyline going into 2021 is not a top play storyline. It is, does PM make it back to majors? Do we see Project M at Melee Nationals? Do we see PM at things like Genesis, at things like Shine? Who starts turning up? Who becomes a much bigger community figure? There was a point where like the biggest people in PM had like 2,000 followers on Twitter, and that's it. And now it's more. I think it's like 4,000, but still, like, do those people start popping off and being able to do full-time streaming? Do they be able to start doing like a lot of different stuff? I think the biggest storyline is like, how does the overall Smash community react to PM? Do we start seeing, like, do majors double in numbers? Do we go from the biggest major of last year having like 400 to having 800? I don't know. I think that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for as far as like compelling storylines. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be the players, because the people who've been playing for 5 years are still going to be the top players until other people start coming up. No, there is one, Stango. Stango is really, really freaking good, and he has continued to play PM and P+. He's never just been a Melee player. Obviously, he did a lot more stuff in Melee, and Stango's currently beating some of our top 10 players. Stango's so freaking good. So good. And so when people are like, oh my god, this Melee player is beating like top 10 PM players, I'm like, he was doing that 2 years ago, too. Stango, I think there's a couple others. If Magi competed in PM regularly, she could be a beast. Her link is freaking phenomenal. Lucky is currently beating some of our top players. None. But like all of the people I'm naming right now are people that always played PM. It's just, I think, hopefully, there will be more of a reason for them to play both games if every time they go for a major, Melee and PM are there. I don't know if any tournament that was ever sponsored by Nintendo will be able to run PM. So like, I don't think we're ever going to see it at like a Big House or Genesis. But at like Shine or SmashCon or things like that, yeah. I think there's a chance we see PM, and if we see PM, I think there's a chance that people like Nun, Lucky, Magi, and Stango are suddenly top players in both games. And that's very exciting to me. But those are all people that I would have told you if they competed regularly could have been top 50 in PM, for sure. Who said, why are these games so much better than anything Nintendo has ever put out? And I will say that is bait. I will answer it, and I will answer it in a way that I think is honest about both. Your question was about Rivals and PM. If you are looking on a purely competitive level, these games are better than anything Nintendo has made. They're better than Melee, they're better than Ultimate, better than Brawl, better than 64. I don't think they are better games overall. I think if you're looking for casual play, the other games are much better. Maybe not P+, but like Rivals, not as great for casual play. Ultimate's gonna be better than P+ for casual play if you enjoy that kind of thing. Melee has the nostalgia factor of everybody grew up with it. Also, those games have way bigger communities, and if you are purely into Smash for the community aspect, those games are better. But both Rivals and P Plus have really, really strong communities. And so that's not to say that there isn't there, it's just not as big. The reason that these games are better, quote unquote, is because they're more focused. These games were made with competitive video games with esports in mind, despite being smaller games. So Rivals was designed from the ground up to be a competitive fighter. And so if you are looking just for competitive mechanics, Rivals is likely going to be a lot more focused. They might not be exactly the mechanics you want it to be, but they are very good, and it is designed to be a competitive game. There's not a lot of stuff that's in there that's like, oh, this was designed for like free-for-alls. PM literally started with a group that's like, what if we made Brawl competitive? And what if we made Brawl like Melee? And so if you are looking purely from a gameplay perspective, it's better. It is more fleshed out. There's characters that felt unfinished in Melee and in Brawl that feel like very fleshed out finished characters in P+. More playstyles are viable. You're able to do well with any character. It is designed to be a very good competitive fighting game. If you are looking for also community size and also, ironically, big esports, the other games are better because they have larger communities. They're better for casual people. They're better for a lot of different things. So while the question was, why are those games better than anything Nintendo's put out? I'm saying they're not better. They're better if you are looking for certain specific things. And I think that's the reason that they have strong communities around them. Another question from Potatoes Are Yum, who is very good. Potatoes is playing in the No Fundies League, says, how do I get good? And I don't like this question because Potatoes beat me last time we played. I see you. I know what you're doing. You don't get to ask me, how do I get good when you beat me? And so my answer on Twitter was, I'll let you know when I figure it out. And he said, all right, cool, keep me posted. So we're both going to figure out how to get good. I think the real answer of how do I get good, in order to be good at a Smash game, first thing is work on your movement, work on your tech, work on your fundamentals. Does not matter how smart you are if you are missing wave dashes. Does not matter how smart you are if you are not able to shield drop, if you're not able to hit your bread and butters like you're playing a Spacey, if you're not hitting your like wave shines, if you're not hitting different things. Does not matter how good you are, you need to have full control over your character. Feel very confident in anything you're doing. I know that was like a one sentence description. That will take years just in itself. That is what I'm doing right now in relearning everything in the box. That is what I'm doing, is reteaching myself all of the muscle memory, all of the controls. My tech skill is bad right now. And if I want to get better, that is what I need to work on. Other things you need to do is work on your concept and understanding of neutral. Work on how to outspace people, work on how to maneuver around people, work on how to really push your threat zones. And then the final thing, and this seems very basic, but a lot of people don't do this, study VODs. Study your own VODs. If you lost and it was on stream, you need to look at that. I don't care if you hate watching yourself lose. That is how you are going to get better and not lose. Stop playing Smash purely for the reason of you want to beat somebody, because what you should be playing is to get better and to improve. Study your VODs. Study your VODs when you lose. Study VODs of people that are better than you. The season that I got ranked in PM, I'm number 8 Minnesota for PM right now, was the season that I was doing the most studying and the most practice. I was labbing things out. I was making sure my tech was good. I was grinding my punish game. I was doing all of the solo practice, and I was studying VODs. I'm struggling when Marth is outranging me at this distance and I can't feel like I'm getting in. What do they do about it? And I would watch things in slow motion and I would figure out like what their defensive options were in here. Okay, he got out of something that I would have been hit by. What did he do? How did he move in? How did he do this? And I was like, it would take me like 30 minutes to watch a 6-minute set because I would write down stuff. That kind of thing is boring. It gets fun once you teach yourself about it, but no one likes just sitting down and watching a Smash match in slow motion to figure out what they're doing. But that's the season that I got ranked. That's the season that I did the best. I'm putting a lot more of my focus into content creation and commentary right now. I do all of that stuff that I was just talking about. I do that for commentary too. I study other people's commentary to see what I like and what I dislike, and where I have bad pauses and where I reuse the same phrases, and where I do. Studying commentary is even weirder than studying Smash, because I'm analyzing my own talking and analyzing other people's talking. But I want to do it because I want to get better at it. Other common misconceptions: a lot of people, when they try to play their melee characters in P+, will say this feels different. And to that I say, true. It does. Characters feel different, and that's true. Animations are a little different. Even if the character is the same as in Melee, like, we can be like, oh, they have the same frame data, they have the same dash distance, they have the same XYZ. They will feel slightly different just because an animation looks different or a sound looks different. Don't let that push you off. I also think that people shouldn't always feel like they need to play their Melee character. If you're playing PM and P+, try out different characters. There's a lot of fun characters. You don't need to be like, well, I played Marth in Melee, better play Marth in PM. I feel targeted, I'm onto you. I mean, sure. I play ICs in both games though, like, I'm a hypocrite about this. But like, I know people that play Puff in Melee that they've realized Charizard is the character they click with the best in PM. Cool. Do it. I'm not saying you have to play a different character, but I'm saying you should give other characters a shot, if that makes sense. When someone's like, I play Falco in Melee, and now I play him in P+, and it's awful. Try a different character then. Oh no, I'm out of coffee. Like, the game was designed to be competitive, and so all of the top tiers in Melee have B&Bs. All the top tiers in Melee have, like, Peach does, Marth does, Samus does. They all have, like, consistent combo games. It's the low tiers in Melee that don't have consistent combo games. And guess what? They do in PM now.